Good day. Do you realize how long it took just to set up for this one segment? 10 minutes. That's how long it takes to get this stuff set up. Live action segments are not fun. They don't even comprise a really significant part of the video itself, but it still takes so long to get it done. And unlike with audio recordings, you can't just stop and then start recording again. No, you have to get an entire take perfectly the first time. Because I can't just start talking and then make a mistake and then stop and then start up immediately afterwards. Because then you see a little cut and that looks terrible. That's one thing you got to avoid. Before we even get into the video itself, avoid having jump cuts. They look terrible. And actually, believe it or not, you can really do a lot of ad-libbing in video segments because none of this was scripted. I'm way off script now. I was supposed to actually stop at telling you that before we get into the actual setup, let's take a look at the actual equipment, which we're going to do right now.
As with microphones, personal cameras have proliferated greatly in the past few years. Just about everyone has a decent quality webcam these days. Unfortunately though, a webcam is not always good enough to make videos with. However, there are some webcams that would, in the absence of anything better, work as a reviewing camera. Any webcam that can record in 720p is usually of decent enough quality to be used, especially if you have an external microphone. Now I use a Canon Vixia HF200 that cost a huge amount of money. In all reality though, you and I do not need one of these. That camera was a waste, to say the least. Really, for what I'm using it for, it really is overqualified. For a review, all you really need is a pocket camera that will record in 720p. That's really it. The only issue with a pocket camera is the audio, but from what I have heard from people who have used them, the audio quality is usually surprisingly good. So once you hopefully have a cheap camera that gives you good video quality, you need to now acquire a powerful lamp that you can point directly at you. Most of the bad video quality that you see is not due to the camera itself, rather it's due to bad lighting. Cheaper cameras need a lot of light. Hell, my expensive camera needs even more light than most. The fact is, to get good video quality, you need to almost sit on the surface of the bloody sun. Now I have two lamps that I use. I have this one here that was cobbled together from a bit of wood and pieces from an old aerial antenna. The lamps themselves were originally designed for photography in mind. The actual sockets have been rebuilt due to the original ones breaking early on. Now this setup gives a fairly good amount of light, and I used to use it on many more occasions, but it has since become pretty unstable, and so I have replaced it with this one, the Lamp Mark II. The lamp itself is actually a repurposed outside light, with a base consisting of a metal tube that I really don't know where it came off of, and a base from a lamp that died years ago. The cord was also added on after the fact as well. I think the cord actually came from an old coffee pot, if I'm not mistaken. Also, since this originally was an outside light, I had to add this switch box. That works fairly well. This lamp setup is actually really quite stable, and is my favorite of the two, as it is smaller and lighter and much more maneuverable. You can buy legitimate lamps from about $30 on up, and they do pretty much the same thing my garage specials do. In addition to lighting, you need a tripod. Like with anything, they can either be really cheap or really expensive. I spent about $20 on mine, and it works and gives good elevation and stability.
And so now it's time to actually go and set everything up. And for that, we're going to have to do a little bit of time travel. It's time to go back in time. And here we are back in time. And as you can see, I'm not really dressed to make a video. The first thing you need to do when getting prepared to make a video is getting dressed. When you show up in a live action segment, you need to look sharp. The audience needs to know that you cared enough about the video to actually look presentable. You need to make sure your hair is actually combed. And unfortunately, mine actually is, so it's not a good example. Let's see. It doesn't look any different. Okay. There, see? That looks bad. Make sure your hair doesn't look bad. Also, if facial hair doesn't really look good on you, like it doesn't on me, be sure to shave. And, well, I'm already shaved, so imagine if I had a lot of hair. Then you'd see how bad it would look.
Now also, you need to make sure that you keep outside noise sources to a minimum. I'm pretty sure I'm going to mention this later on because I think I actually have an audio segment on that. But make sure you do it anyway. If you have a computer that's on, be sure to turn it off. Unless, of course, you're using a webcam, and then, well, you don't have much of a choice of leaving it on. But if you're using an external camera like I am, be sure to turn it off. And actually, there should be some computer noise because I actually have my camera sitting on my laptop so as to simulate computer noise. Usually, no one's going to really care, but it just sounds overall better if it isn't there. Also, try to make the temperature as comfortable as possible. That way you're not sitting there being uncomfortable due to the temperature and trying to think of what you're going to say. Also, you need to make sure that you have the air conditioning running a little bit before you start filming, because any kind of lighting you set up is going to get things really, really hot. I mean, it was about 75 with the light being on for about 10 minutes. It's about 78 now. So yeah, you gotta do that. Also, if you have an air conditioner set up next to your room or wherever it is you're going to be filming, be sure to turn that off too. Now, in theory, you should be hearing an airplane, because I just heard one go by. That's another thing you have to worry about when filming. Airplanes going by. There's so many different pieces of noise that can really ruin a good take. Also, clear away any clutter that is just lying around. Your background doesn't necessarily have to be devoid of everything, but it does need to look neat. Now, once you have done all of that, it's time to set everything up. This is generally what your setup should look like. You have the lamp pointed straight at you and the camera right next to it to capitalize on the light. Now, there is a bit of a debate about sitting or standing. It all comes down to personal preference. I used to like to stand in all of my videos, but I honestly did not like the audio quality, and it was hard to place the camera. If you don't have much room, sitting should be what you do, because you don't have to have the camera positioned too far away from you. Also, the camera should be positioned to where only your upper body is in frame. That way, they can just focus on your words and any hand gestures that you want to make.
And so that is filming. It's tedious, it's annoying, it takes forever to get it set up, and it also is really difficult to make everything look right. And it is by no means a necessity in videos. You really can get away with just having game footage. I personally do it because I feel like it gives my videos a certain personal touch. But really, it would be a lot easier if I didn't have to do it. So for next time, we're going to take a look at the final process of media creation. Video editing. But for now, this is General Odds, signing off. Jump cut! Yeah, if you have a remote control, try to not reach for it when you end the video. I have done this on so many occasions. I hope nobody's noticed. But yeah, I'll say, this is General Odds, signing off. It doesn't look very good. Try to remember, don't reach for the remote when you go to end the video. And as of this recording, I can't actually find my remote, so I don't have to worry about that. So this is General Odds really signing off this time. Jump cut!